Hello and namaskar to all of you who are present and listening to us on this webinar. With the blessings of Bhagwan, CCI is trying to enter in some kind of new venture. It is like perimedical issues which are related to definitely to us, but not clearly medical issues as we are regularly having the webinars all together for last so many years. Now, to tell you something about work-life balance, I will like to get in one of our panelists, Dr. Nasir Yusuf. He himself does not require much of an introduction, but to tell you all, he's a CVTS surgeon who is attached to a chest and PVS hospital, Calicut, and Sunrise and EMS hospital at Kochi, and an adjunct faculty at Manipal University also. Will try to enlighten us about the basic, as we are all know why we kept this webinar during these days is we are having the Valentine's week going on from 7th to 14th. So today is a, as we all know, steady day. So you can, I may be looking at Teddy, that's okay. So you can get me attached over there, that's fine. So maybe one of the reasons why I was chosen as a moderator for session today. So that's okay. So Dr. Nasir sir is going to tell us about the some history about Valentine Day itself and his own take on his professional career, how he has seen the Valentine Day in real life. Nasir sir, over to you.
Hello, everybody. Greetings. I'm Dr. Nasir Yusuf, a thoracic surgeon from Cochin. All of you are familiar with the phrase roti, kapda or makan. हम बेचारे surgeons के लिए it is oti, kapda or makan. This brainchild of Dr. Ravi Doshi and Dr. Vijay Kumar Chemin-Chetty was absolutely out of this world and well supported. I have to compliment and congratulate as well as commend the founder president of CCI, Dr. Krishna, ably supported by Dr. Narayana Pradeep. Then we have the president himself, the current president, Dr. Nagarjuna, and the moderator, Dr. Kinjal Modi. Greetings to all of you and hello to all my fellow panelists. As Dr. Atris mentioned, love is in the air and is everywhere. In fact, I had never known about Valentine's Day in my youth or childhood until I reached Dublin. And there, Valentine's Day, Valentine's Week was a major, major affair with people, young and old, both young and old alike, rushing to shops, buying gifts, confectionaries, cards, and there's all love everywhere. While in Dublin, as you can see on the screen here, this is the first apparently known Valentine card in the world. That was sometime in 1909, painted in Italy. In Dublin, where I had my first exposure of Valentine's Day, I heard about the relics of Valentine. That was in a church on Whitefriars Street, just down the road from the Hospital Mater Misericordiae, where I was working. The origins of Valentine, I was intrigued. It is a story of love as well as tragedy. It goes back to 496 AD, when this feast of Saint Valentine was established by the then Pope Gelasius, and Valentine lived about 200 years prior to that. Valentine was a priest in Rome, and in those days, Christians were being persecuted. Couples were in urgent need of baptizing or christening or, making the union of the two of them. They never used to get priests until Valentine, the priest, agreed to conduct the marriages secretly and covertly. Invariably, he was exposed and he was condemned to death. He was put in a jail, and there Valentine developed a relationship, a friendship with the jailer. In the course of their discussions, the jailer mentioned that his daughter Julia was blind. A miracle happened and she got her eyesight back. And on his way to the gallows, where he was soon to be beheaded, he left a note saying to Julia from Valentine. And there began the story, the legend of Valentine's Day. There's further embellishment, interesting legends attached to Valentine's Day. There are keys. Keys are passed on to their lovers, their partners, and it's a romantic symbol and an invitation to unlock the giver's heart. And this also has another interesting story to it that's sometimes given to children who have epilepsy. And that's known as Saint Valentine's malady. After he was beheaded, Saint Valentine was buried in the church of Praxedis in Rome. Legend goes that Julia, who got her eyesight back, planted a tree, an almond tree, at his grave. And that is a symbol of abiding love and friendship. Thereafter, what happened was it became a cultural and commercial celebration. So, and this took off in a big way in the early part of the 19th century. And today we have an entire week starting from the 7th of February dedicated to Valentine's week, starting with Happy Rose Day on the 7th, on the 8th, Happy Propose Day, 9th of February is Happy Chocolate Day, and finally today, Thursday, the 10th, is known and celebrated as Happy Teddy Day. And then the following day is Happy Promise Day, Happy Hug Day, Happy Kiss Day, and finally the beautiful heart being carved into or out of the other's heart is Happy Valentine's Day. Taking off from here, on a clinical aspect, I was reminded of an incident. I will skip the slide because it's quite horrific, but continue with the tale. A guy was brought in, stabbed into the casualty while I was working in Dublin. I was the senior resident then on call, so rushed to the casualty. We had an excellent senior registrar. She intubated the patient, put lines in, including not only central lines, a femoral arterial line, and said, Nasser, here he is there. For you, you can even put an IABP, intra-aortic balloon pump, and get on with him. His heart is not given up yet. He was rolled into the theater, and straight away put him on IABP. And as you saw the knife being there, we opened the incision on either side of the knife. And with the knife in situ, chest is opened, patient is on bypass. Then we remove the knife, and there was a spurt expectedly, but with a mop, the bleeding is controlled. Thereafter, we found that the left anterior descending was injured. We put a graft there. A vein was harvested from the lower limb. A graft was put in there, and the heart continued to beat. He was moved to the ICU. Of course, he was not conscious. We didn't know what his cerebral status was. And next day morning, when I went for rounds, I saw a lady sitting beside him. And apparently, I presumed it was his wife. Then I had to catch a flight for the summer holidays back to Cochin. The story does not end there. And those days, it was very difficult to get communication. Phones, we never had mobile phones. And finally, when I came back, I went up to the bed and found it empty, no patient at all on that bed. Mind you, it's 3 weeks. And when I inquired with the nurse, she said, oh, that guy, Seamus recovered and went home. And I said, what about, and then she said, there's a twist to the tale. What had happened was his girlfriend, he was not married, but his girlfriend was Colette, and they shared the same flat, and she was pregnant. She asked for a cigarette from him when he returned after work that particular evening, that fateful evening. He said, cautioned her that you're not supposed to smoke because you're pregnant. An argument broke out, and in a fit of rage, took the knife and stabbed him to the chest. And she then said, "Oh my God, what have I done?" And thereafter called 911, and she herself brought Seamus to the hospital. And apparently, next day, she was sitting by him, and they've come back together. The law is so kind to a pregnant lady, she was never even arrested. But they were back together. That was a story of love and bonded. There was a strong bond of love, a feeling of anger, stabbing, always taking the life, but back together. And coming closer to home, we had this patient, Santosh, who met with an accident, unfortunately, and was paralyzed below his waist. He'd only been married 2 months to Sharanya. Thereafter, why did we come into the picture? He had ruptured his diaphragm and all his bowel and stomach, the spleen, everything was in his left chest. We operated, put him out, but he could never walk again. But Sharanya was by his side all through his hospitalization, and it's now 3 years, and still their love is so strong that they are together. And finally, that was the social aspect, the emotional aspect of surgery and patients, their relationships. This is a patient who had probably must have heard about. He was so grateful after his surgery.
Dr. Nasir Yusuf, he is the God of medical science. एक भगवान है मेरे लिए और मेडिकल साइंस के लिए भी. धन्यवाद. Thank you.
The reason why I show this is because we need to develop that bond, relationship with the patient, that confidence, and that is possible. And believe me, if you're honest and sincere in your work, that bond, the patients will definitely appreciate. And patience with patients is very important. Be patient with them. Honesty and sincerity in both your personal and professional relationships will only you've opened more and more doors, and you shall make progress. Trust me, everything else will follow. Friendship, fame, and fortune. So it is not the strongest or the most intelligence that is key to a relationship. It is basically adaptability, compromise, adjustment, and most of the time it will lead success and happiness. So to conclude, on a lighter tone, a toast on Valentine's Day: to every lovely lady bride, I wish a gallant, faithful night. To every faithful lover, too, I wish a trusting lady true. These two lines, the most beautiful lines I find between two lovers or two persons, is my heart has left its dwelling place and can return no more.